And this is how the chassis of the Ford Ranger midsize pickup truck and the Ford F-150 light-duty truck are gradually being created. The chassis has to accommodate various systems such as the frame, wheels, brakes, steering, and suspension. In order to maintain the rigidity of the whole structure, solutions created from expertise and modern engineering capabilities are needed in the manufacturing of a chassis. The material used for the construction of the chassis is usually carbon steel, but it is also becoming more commonplace that they are made up of aluminum alloys considering its lightweight characteristic. While the overhead conveyor system held the weight of the engines and brought the engines to the line, it was up to the team to correctly position and lower the engines into the chassis. Perhaps what's even more amazing is how the right engines consistently show up at the right place at the right time for this process to occur. These workers easily place the finished motor into the chassis frame and attach it with bolts and wiring connections between the wheels and the engine. The entire weight of the engine is held by rails in the factory ceiling. 45,000 parts make up one of these cars. It's in every aspect of the 5 primary processes: stamping, welding, painting, assembly, and inspection. Now you can again enjoy a look at the process called the marriage. The orange robot holders are usually from Fanuc or Kuka. Orange and yellow are used across the factory as warning colors. As you can see, this manufacturing process is very similar across all Ford models. The body and chassis mating process is also similar for all cars in automotive factories in the United States. The actual marriage itself takes place so quickly on the platform that an unprepared witness could actually miss the climax, as it were. The previously painted and pre-assembled Ford trucks' bodies glide in almost silently on the raised conveyor belt. Assembly is where almost every major component of the vehicle is installed. This includes tires, engines, doors, and door panels, windshields, dashboards, and seats. The assembly process is made possible by utilizing different forms of moving platforms and conveyor that allow the workers to move with the vehicle as it goes down the line. Once the front dashboard is mounted and bolted in place, the wiring is connected to the rest of the car. The seats easily attach to both the Ford Ranger and Ford F-150 using ready-made attachment points in the floor of the vehicle. That's why you can easily detach these seats yourself. There are more than 700 robots in the body assembly area. There are also more than 300 programmable locating units. The 6 million square foot facility is located on 500 acres and employs 9,200 employees. Approximately 8,700 of these are hourly employees. Ford broadened American truck appeal with the original F-Series, developed high-strength, military-grade aluminum alloy bodies to help boost capability, and created the first full-size light-duty electric truck. The company is now shipping the all-new Ranger and Ranger Raptor, new F-150, F-150 Power Boost Hybrid, F-150 Raptor, and F-150 Lightning, and assembled 144,000 of the new trucks in the first quarter. Ford assembles more vehicles in the United States than any other automaker, and employs the most United Automobile workers, represented hourly auto workers. More than half of those team members contribute to F-150 or Ranger production. Ford assembles a new truck in the US every 33 seconds. Ford uses 2 processes to assemble its pickup trucks: an older process that requires more human interaction, and a newer automated process that requires slightly less human interaction. This theme is repeated throughout the plant. Up to this point, the car had been moved around the factory completely without wheels. Here, the employees attach all the wheels and secure them with 6 strong bolts. The tightening force is monitored by machines, so all the bolts are tightened to the right force. On some assembly lines, the wheels are already attached to the chassis without the upper cab of the car. On the newer ones, however, the wheels are attached near the end. Manufacturing processes are constantly evolving, and different approaches may be taken in the same factory, depending on the generation of the assembly line. All steps are constantly checked between each part of production. This should ensure that errors are detected and corrected immediately if necessary. This procedure ensures a minimum of problems at the end of production. This is an automated elevator that brings in freshly assembled Ford truck across the factory. These processes are controlled by operations managers, who sit behind a computer and ensure that everything is carried out as it should, according to the production plan. Now this Ford F-150 is almost finished, and will undergo final quality control. That happens in these LED-lit tunnels where attentive workers check all the parameters of the new car. They're checking both the appearance and the functionality of every feature. They use a checklist that they have to follow. The Ford Raptor is designated as the highest performance version of the F-150, Ranger, and Bronco. Drawing its name from both Bird of Prey and the Velociraptor, the model line is intended as a street-legal counterpart of an off-road racing trophy truck. The F-150 Raptor is currently in its third generation. The Raptor is a nameplate used by Ford for its high-performance pickup trucks and SUVs. At the end of this production line, the quality is checked again in the LED tunnels, and after the startup, the car's performance is measured again, and all controls are tested from the driver's position. The cars are already being moved thanks to Ford drivers. No more robots are used. Since 1977, the F-Series has remained the best-selling pickup truck line in the United States. It has been the best-selling vehicle overall since 1981. The F-Series has been the best-selling truck in Canada for over 50 years. Throughout its production, variants of the Ford F-Series has been produced to attract buyers. While these variants primarily consist of trim packages, others are high-performance versions, while other variants were designed with various means of improving functionality. One major reason for the popularity of the F-150 is Ford's ability to deliver capabilities on its trucks. If you look at the recent history of the F-150, you will see a full-size pickup truck that is often at or near the top of its class when it comes to towing and hauling. Each car factory is located near a large train station. It is on the train cars that hundreds of new Ford cars are loaded each day and shipped throughout the northern states. The logistics of loading the cars and getting them across the country is a tough job that has to run like clockwork.
And got a phone call from Ford asking for an interview.
I hope you didn't come to this video just for this footage of female Ford workers. In any case, let me know in the comments section which part of the Ford production process you liked best. For comparison, I will now show you the door assembly of the latest Ford Ranger. There are approximately 3,000 employees at this Michigan assembly plant. They say they love their jobs and would do them for free. Like almost all components on the production line, the dashboards are delivered assembled and ready for use. These finished dashboards are very visible as they roll down the conveyor belt to the truck assembly line. As you can see, the marriage process is the same for the Ford Ranger as it is for the F-Series Super Duty trucks. Everything is almost automatic, and the biggest logistical challenge is getting all the parts to the right place at the right time. At this point, the discs and the entire area around the wheels are prepared. This is followed by the actual assembly of all the wheels by a classic factory worker, and with screws. Once all the wheels have been fitted and the interior of the new Ford Ranger has been fitted, the tank still needs to be filled and the car is started for the first time. Right now, the new car is being transported to the LED tunnel, where the quality of the bodywork and door seals in particular will be thoroughly checked. In addition, the entire driver's cabin and the functionality of the various systems, from the brakes, the car's performance, the light controls, and the function of the wipers, for example, will also be checked. Now, this Ford Ranger can be loaded onto a train and shipped to its future owner. So, the production process for the 5th generation Ford F-Series Super Duty trucks begins here. The large sheets are fed into presses that apply enormous pressure to shape the metal into the desired body panel shapes. As you can see, the robots are now welding the body parts together. It takes roughly 20 hours from start to finish to build the new Ford Super Duty truck. This Ford factory can produce around 80 cars per hour. Along with the bodywork, the production of the chassis is also underway. This is turned upside down most of the time so that the factory staff can get to it easily. The drivetrain, suspension, brake discs, and then the gearbox and engine are gradually added to the main chassis frame. Now you can see how to attach the wheels to the chassis. The entire weight of the wheel is held by the robotic feeder. While the chassis and body are built at Ford's Kentucky plant, these transmissions are assembled at the Sharonville plant. Parts are shipped here from locations across the country and around the world. The transmissions are transported automatically between the individual stations using automated conveyor systems. Various subassemblies such as gear sets, clutch packs, valve bodies, and housings are assembled and brought together to form the complete transmission unit. This involves aligning and mating components, securing them with fasteners, and verifying proper fitment and functionality. Employees work in cooperation with robots. Ford has a total of 9 different engines in this factory, 3 of which are destined for the domestic Super Duty truck market. To the untrained eye, a 4-wheel drive transmission and a 2-wheel drive transmission look almost exactly the same. The larger transmissions are the Super Duty transmissions, and they are either 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive transmissions. For those interested in the gas versus diesel debate, 65% of Ford Super Duty trucks are built with 6.7 Ford Power Stroke diesel engines, and 35% are built with either the 6.2 V8 or 6.8 V10 gas engines. Since opening in 1969, the factory has produced about 8 million vehicles and currently manufactures the Ford F-250, F-350, F-450, and F-550 Super Duty pickup trucks, as well as the Ford Expedition and Lincoln Navigator. You see the engines safely stored in large metal shipping racks and stacked by the dozen, 4 in sets of 3. In this gearbox warehouse, warehouse workers use conventional pallets and forklifts to move and load gearboxes onto trains and trucks. In this warehouse are finished gearboxes waiting to be shipped to the main assembly line at the Kentucky plant. Once there, they're assembled into the engine. Now this huge engine is easily placed on the chassis and attached with strong bolts. While the engine is being attached to the chassis and the final wiring connections are being made, the upper part of the bodywork is also being completed. Both men and women can work at this workstation. As you can see right now, adding the 6.7 turbo diesel emblem is a matter of seconds. Many of the plastic parts in the driver's cab can only be snapped on so easily. That's why you can easily remove them yourself. This part of the production process is called the marriage. This has to be the most thrilling part of the whole Ford Super Duty assembly process. Under the control and guidance of the Ford assembly team, an enormous orange claw gently brings the cabs over the truck chassis and lowers them into position. The experienced team makes it look easy. And now it is checked that everything fits together as it should, and after connecting with screws, the main assembly line begins. The total assembly length of all the conveyor belts is a whopping 20 miles. In this part, the front bumpers are attached, the entire door interior, the entire front dashboard is inserted at one time, and the seats are added to the prepared attachment points in the car. 300 rail cars a day deliver large pallets of parts directly into the plant and right on time for production. Just like its predecessor, this generation of Super Duty shares much of the cabin interior with the contemporary F-150. All engines are paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Four-wheel drive is standard on XLT and higher trims on pickups, as well as on the Lariat trim on chassis cabs. For this year, the 6.8L V8 gained flex fuel capability and was now available in F250 and F350 pickups with the XLT trim. These Ford F-Series Super Duty vehicles are now assembled and ready to start. However, track testing and testing of the car's performance is required before they can be loaded onto trains and distributed across the United States. Air tunnel testing is used in the design of the vehicle. Aerodynamics, car performance, and engine capability are tested here. All the car's parameters are evaluated by computer scientists, and any shortcomings are corrected in advance of the design of the next generation Ford car. This test track is located immediately adjacent to the Ford Kentucky plant. There are a number of obstacles to test the driving abilities of the future Super Duty truck on the extreme terrain. This test car is packed with measuring instruments and is driven remotely. A lot of emphasis is placed on the load capacity of the car and the suspension during driving. Testing in the water hull determines the water resistance of the cabin when crossing the river. Features that sets the new Ford Super Duty apart from its competitors include a jaw-dropping towing capacity that is 10,000 pounds more than other trucks.